Good morning and welcome back for a read aloud from The Trouble with Antlers, aka Melvin's Rampant Rack. Today we're going to read chapter 4. Amelia has just finished with her first day at the new school. So let's see what happens next. Chapter 4, The Bookbag. How was your day, kiddo? Amelia's dad asked as he pulled out of the school's parking lot. Sucked. Amelia couldn't wait to get home so she could go for a walk in the woods and get away from everything and everyone. Oh, it couldn't have been that bad. Surely you made at least one friend. Not even close, Amelia muttered. Well, give it time. I don't want to give it time, Dad. I don't know why we had to move. Seriously, can't we just go back to New York? Not a chance. This is a new start for us, Amelia. Just give it a shot. Things will get better. Whatever. You like their pets? Yeah, but they're not normal pets. Just because I haven't treated any cats or dogs yet. Haven't seen any either. I mean, what kind of freaks have wildcats and raccoons for pets? Is that even legal? The entire town's a wildlife refuge. It's one of the reasons I took the job. Figured you'd think it was cool. Well, sure, the animals are cool, but see there? Amazing. Up ahead, a giant moose walked along the side of the road. Weird. Was that a book bag hanging from its antlers? Amelia stared as they passed by. It was a book bag, and it had an ornament, an animal of some sort, hanging from the strap. Amelia swiveled in her seat to keep the moose in sight. But in the time it took her to turn around, the book bag had disappeared. The moose's antlers unadorned. Great. Now she was seeing things. And here is a picture of the moose with the book bag walking along the side of the road. And Amelia in the car staring at him. Melvin stared down into the ditch. He jerked his head to the side when the car, smelling of humans, had passed by. His bag had gone flying and now lay at the bottom of the ditch. Like his life wasn't complicated enough. He should have waited until he got home to let his beast out, but he'd been desperate by the end of the day. His moose wasn't waiting a second longer than the ringing of that final bell. He'd raced for the locker room and barely managed to tear off his clothes and shove them into his bag before everything went moose-sized. Now he was halfway home, and his book bag with his geometry homework and history assignment were somewhere down below. Not to mention his clothes. Of course, with his terrible moose vision, he couldn't see a thing. He paced back and forth at the top of the ditch, tilting his head this way and that, trying to catch a glimpse of his bag, but he just couldn't see past the end of his snout. His front legs were longer than his back, which would help him jump over this ditch, but not necessarily navigate his way down it. The ditch was simply too steep, and his moose form too lacking in grace. He let out a bellow of frustration. He turned in a circle. There was no one around. He sniffed the air. No humans nearby. No shifters either. Melvin closed his eyes and focused on his human form. A cracking sound echoed, and his bones broke and shrank, refitting themselves to his still rather large human form. Melvin's knees buckled, and gravity did the rest. He landed face down in the mud at the bottom of the ditch. Good news was he landed on his book bag. Melvin struggled to his feet and yanked the bag out of the mud. He looked down at himself. Naked, covered in mud. Awesome. He tried to shift back to his moose form, dreading how the mud would become trapped in uncomfortable places. Nothing happened, though. He tried again, then let out a second bellow, his voice cracking mid-shout, so that he sounded like a moose-human hybrid experiment gone awry. Shifting drained energy, making each subsequent shift harder to achieve. Full-grown shifters could manage 4 or even 5 full shifts in a 24-hour period, but that took years of practice and control. The little control Melvin had gained over the years had been obliterated when his moose-orific antlers came in. With those involuntary partial shifts happening pretty much every time he turned around, he had no control whatsoever. And since he'd already partially shifted multiple times today, and fully shifted twice, once this morning and once just now, he was pretty much out of luck. Fantastic. He'd spent the entire day trying to avoid the shift, and now that he needed it, nothing. He pulled the zipper of his bag, but it didn't move. This was not happening. He needed clothes or his moose form now. He shook the bag furiously, then jerked on the zipper again. The movement caused him to slip, and he landed on his rump in the mud. Muttering a curse word, he struggled to his feet. Forget the jeans. He popped his head above the ditch and looked around. Still clear. He swung the bag onto his shoulder and leapt to the top of the ditch, then took off across a field, headed for the woods that ran the length of town. Amelia jumped down from the back porch and walked across the yard into the woods behind her house. Her dad had dropped her off, but almost immediately left again, responding to a call for vet services. Normally, Amelia would go with him. She loved meeting new animals and helping her dad care for them, but today she just wanted to be left alone. All she'd wanted was one friend. It shouldn't be that difficult. She'd been at enough schools to know that making at least one friend was easy, if she just set her mind to it. But this town wasn't like the others, and the kids were in a class of their own. Her dad never liked to stay in one place for too long. He'd hire on at a vet's office, staying there for a year or even 2, and then he'd get restless and start looking for a new place to land. It made her crazy, having to switch schools all the time, though she did like the adventure of it occasionally. This time, though, he'd promised to try to stay at least until she graduated from high school. 4 more years. Surely he could handle 4 years. That's what she thought, anyway. But then they'd landed here, in Freakville, and now she was the one who balked at the thought of 4 years. Melvin reached the shallow stream, dropped his bag on the bank, and plowed into the freezing cold water. He leaned over, scooped water into his hands, and scrubbed at the mud hardening on his skin. Itchy. He scrubbed harder, dislodging mud from all kinds of hideous places. A gasp sounded from the bank. He whirled. New Girl stood at the edge of the stream, staring at him with wide eyes. Seriously? Could he never catch a break? He lunged for his bag, scooped it up, and held it strategically in front of him. Do you mind? Mind? You're the one who's naked in the middle of the woods. Anyone could come along and see you. Someone did, in fact. Me. What's wrong with you? New Girl, cheeks flaming red, whirled so her back was to Melvin. Well, go on. Get dressed. Melvin fiddled with the zipper some more, but it still wouldn't open. No can do. What? Why not? Zipper stuck. Let me see. She held out a hand behind her. Melvin hesitated. Was there anything inside the book bag she shouldn't see? He wasn't sure. Well, come on. Melvin tossed it her way. New Girl scooped it up, jiggled with the zipper a few minutes, then slung the open bag back at him. Melvin glowered at her back. Seriously, how had she done that? He jerked his jeans out and slung the bag onto the bank. Bullwinkle, he muttered, attempting to force his soaking wet legs into the tight, restrictive jeans. Hopping around, he stumbled on a rock and almost face-planted again. Growling, he dragged the jeans off, flung them onto the bank, and pulled his boxers out of the bag. For the love of horns, why these boxers? Of all days to have a laundry crisis. Gritting his teeth, he pulled on the bright red shorts and decided to make her leave first. Well, New Girl demanded, are you decent? More or less. He pulled on his t-shirt, then settled his glasses on his nose. Much better. Now he could see in detail the incredulous look on New Girl's face when she turned and stared at him. That's when he realized his antlers were behaving themselves for once. He rubbed his head, marveling at the lack of itching. There was no tingling, no stretching sensation that signaled an impending partial shift. Was he finally cured of his terminally rampant rack? Unlikely. Instead, because he'd shifted so much today, the ability was likely lost to him until tomorrow. Sweet, glorious freedom. Hello, freak boy. Huh? What's your name? The way she said it, drawing out her words, made him think it wasn't the first time she'd asked. Oh, Melvin, you? Amelia. Why were you naked, Melvin? I like skinny dipping. In a stream? Amelia asked. It's not like you can swim in there. Well, I like it, Melvin said. It was a ridiculous response, he knew, but he wasn't very good at making up stories on the fly, and this girl, Amelia, was seriously starting to annoy him. What business was it of hers if he liked to wander naked through the woods? She'd probably shut up real fast if he showed her his moose. Wasn't it cold? Melvin shrugged. Amelia leaned over and tested the water. It's not cold. It's freezing. Are you insane? Probably. Well, that's cool, I guess. So what do you do for fun around here? Fun? Yeah, fun. Melvin had to think about that. What did they do for fun? They shifted. Well, we sometimes hang out, he hesitated. Where can he tell her that kids hung out where he knew not one of them would be in shifter form? There's an all-you-can-eat buffet. Wait, the buffet probably wasn't safe either since it sold bamboo shoots for the pandas, raw meat for the carnivores, and shrubs for moose like him. Do-lap-licious. An all-you-can-eat buffet? The look on Amelia's face told Melvin she wasn't bowled over by the buffet option. Well, we also have a bowling alley. That was probably safe. An arcade. Also safe. And an outdoor arena for all types of sports. Not so safe. Shouldn't have mentioned that one. Amelia made a face. I'm not much into sports. Thank goodness. And I pretty much suck at bowling. No clubs? One, but it's only open on the weekends and you have to be 21 to get in. That was a lie. There was a 21 and under club, but it was in the city. The club in Shifterville was a teen hangout, but their secret would be out the minute she walked in the door. Why had the town council thought this was a good idea? There was no way these humans could live here and not learn their secret. Unless they were stupid. Melvin eyed Amelia. She didn't look stupid. So basically there's nothing to do around here, she said. Pretty much. Awesome. I don't know why my dad had to choose this town. You could always leave. Amelia snorted. Yeah, tell that to my dad. Well, I should get going. Before he got roped into showing her around or something. Everyone would freak out if they saw them together. Melvin grabbed his book bag and slung it over his shoulder. Nice to meet you, Amelia. Yeah, you too. Amelia's eyes widened as Melvin walked away. What the Helvetica? Across the back space of his red boxers, in bold white letters, were the words, Gluteus Maximus. And there's our picture of Melvin in his red boxers. All right, so that is the end of chapter 4. I hope you enjoyed it. We will read chapter 5 tomorrow. And yeah, so have a good afternoon. See you later. Bye.